welcome to my reflective month. Welcome to December. I know we are already in the middle of the last month of the year, and you might be wondering, why am I saying welcome to December? I'm welcoming you because today we are going to be doing a recap of my 2025, a recap of 2025 in the lenses of a PhD student who is a mom, a wife, a sister. So, guys, it was a long year, an amazing year, tiresome year, tears year, because I cried also in this year. But yeah, today I'm going to recap my 2025 with you. I know that if you have been here for the whole year, you probably know some of the reflective things that I'm going to say. You probably know some of the recaps that I'm going to say. Why? Because I've posted them here, but I'm just doing a reflective episode. So let's start in January. So January was all about fitness goals. Don't laugh. It was all about fitness goals. This was my first January with my husband and my son with me. The other Januaries I was all alone. So when you're staying alone, it's a bit different, unlike when you now have your family with you. So January, we were really trying to ease into the schedules and trying to figure out, how life can be as we are back together. And you're probably asking, why are you saying that? Didn't you stay together in Zimbabwe? Of course we did. The only difference was that when we were back home, we had a lot of community. You had maids. But now it was just me and him and our son. So there were quite a lot of things to learn, how to, schedule things together so that they don't overlap and so that everyone is not overwhelmed. So basically, that was it for January. Now, let's talk about February. Now, the fitness goals were starting to die down. And I know I'm not the only one. You guys out there also face this. So the fitness goals were starting to die down. Why? Because I had conferences to attend, I had, assignments to do. So basically, February was just, trying to hand in those assignments on time. During this time, the fitness goals were being tested. And probably if I was exercising 5 days a week, I was now maybe exercising once or not even exercising. But don't laugh at me. I know you were still in the same boat. And during this time, we were also trying to explore the city that we live in. Because when my husband came and my son came, I was at the peak of my semester as well, and I was doing quite a lot of things. So now we felt like we had time to really, just take a bus or a tram or an Uber and just, visit those places that you pass by when you're in the bus going to work and just see how they were. And basically, that was what we did, honestly, in February. And then came March. For March, we went to Slovakia. This was our first trip going out of the country. Me and my husband and my son. This was our first family trip since they came in. And because the city that we live in is actually near Bratislava, the capital city for Slovakia, that's where we went because it's like 1 hour away from us. And it was really exciting, even though the day we went, it was raining and all, but you could see, the excitement. We were really enjoying it. And then that same March, in that same month, in March, my friend who has been struggling with PCOS had a baby. I was really excited. It was like as if I was the one who had a baby. So I was just so excited and just so grateful of what God had done for her. And during this month, my husband was trying to support me. If you knew that I started this YouTube thing in December 2024. And if you go to my first video, that's chaotic. Some of the things were put in portraits. I didn't even know where to place what. And in March, I think my husband was like, okay, you're doing this YouTube thing. So he gifted me an Osmo 7P gimbal and said, you know what, my wife, I see you're really trying. Let me try and upgrade your things. Of course, during that time, I was using my phone and then I was just using my selfie stick to place it and all of that. So he got me a gimbal. And that month, I was so much excited trying to test that it follows me around. Some of the things did not make it to YouTube, but the excitement, we start from somewhere. He also got me microphones, the one that you see me holding sometimes. And I think basically that sums up my March, and I'm really grateful for that. Thank you to my husband. Please don't come for me, but thank you to my husband. He really supports me. You don't see him much, but he really supports me. And then around April, the temperatures were starting to get low. So there was a lot of, outdoor activities going on. So I attended quite some events. I think I could not vlog. Maybe some of them made it to my YouTube, yeah. But sometimes when I go for public events, I barely vlog because I respect people's privacy. And then during this month, in as much as it was warm, school was still going on, I still had to attend my doctoral school retreat. So you're probably wondering that you say doctoral school, you say university. So there are two things. You can enroll your PhD under a professor directly and your activities are tied to him. Or you can enroll your PhD under a doctoral school. And a doctoral school actually has many advantages because they fund you for so many trips. And then it's like a body where you have a lot of PhD students, so you can meet and mingle and all of that. So I enrolled through a doctoral school because my PhD was industry based. So it's basically means I'm barely at the university. I go once a week or even once a fortnight. So that's the difference. Doctoral school kind of support students who are doing their PhDs in the industry. So yeah, basically that month I had to attend the doctoral school retreat. So at this, every doctoral student in your program comes, and that's when they present what they've done, what they are doing, in simpler terms. And that's where you kind of get feedback from other PIs, and they do it every year just to see how students are progressing. It's kind of a lot of pressure because you have to prepare for your presentation, but we sailed through. And in between, we had some activities. We hiked, we went out, we tried out some, wineries. That pretty much sums up the month. May, I had my first Mother's Day with my son. You won't understand the happiness. But for someone who left a son when he was 9 months old and then they joined me when he was almost turning 4 years old, you don't understand the milestones I've missed, the activities I've missed. Happy Mother's Day when you was there, when I was here. Okay, it was fine. But having it here whilst he was here was amazing. And I remember we went to church. Our church just have this special Mother's Day event. So they set up some decorations. So I remember last year they did set up some decorations and I was holding the kids of my friends as I am supportive. Inini supportive. I am very supportive. But deep down my heart was breaking. I wish I could be with my son. I wish I could be holding my son. And this year it happened. When the deco was there, my son was there. I was holding my son. I know it might sound petty, but to me, it was really something that I really cherish. And I was so happy that I got to do that with my son. Then afterwards, we had a lot of outdoor events. Here we really value summer. Kana zuva rikabuda inenge iri dhindindi, party after party. But even though those things are going on, I'm still a PhD student. I still have to show up and do my schoolwork. Otherwise, it will be chaotic. But still, I had a lot of more outdoor events. Then I traveled to West Africa for the first time. I've never been to West Africa. I remember my first flight was coming to Germany, and then afterwards you pass through other countries, like connecting flights and all. But this was my first trip to West Africa. I've never been to West Africa. So I went to Burkina Faso. So here's how it happened. My professor, who is my supervisor for my PhD, invited me to go with him to Burkina Faso because they have some programs where they support animal breeding programs in Burkina Faso. And then he was like, could you come with me so that you can lecture? And I wasn't a student for the first time. I enjoyed that. So I was lecturing, helping with, the practicals, and it was really a good experience. I explored two cities. The first one was Ouagadougou, and then the second one was Bobo Dioulasso, which I really liked more than the capital city. But then I went to Burkina Faso and I really enjoyed my time. The thing that really made me so happy there was the food was similar to Zimbabwe. I had roasted maize. I had cooked maize. I had sweet potatoes. I had, derere, I had okra, that it was like as if I was home. And when I came back, my spirits were actually much more higher. And I really thank God that I got to experience that. So that was one thing that happened in July. So July, we are almost wrapping up summer. Afterwards, I had to travel to Innsbruck, and this was my first trip with my son. And it wasn't a luxury trip. I was going for a conference. So because July, most of the schools are closed, I had to go with my son. Hmm, I did that. I went with him. It was amazing. It was so nice because I had supportive people around me who really helped me, because you know how conferences are so intense and kids have a low concentration span, like his age and all of that. But I really enjoyed. So of course it was serious business, but we had time to explore. We had time to go to, museums and all of that. And I really liked that. It was my first trip with Riley away from his dad. So I was experiencing the full parental mode. And afterwards, when I came back from that, it was September. Drum roll. September is an amazing month for me. I turned 30 in September, and during that month, because I was born on the 29th of September, so I have a whole month to reflect. And honestly, it was overwhelming in a good sense to me, because I was just grateful and looking back to where God took me. And now I'm 30. I was feeling fulfilled. Those who understand this can actually agree with me. You can turn a certain age and you're feeling like you're not fulfilled. But that month, I was full of gratitude. Grateful for the learning curves, grateful for things that I've accomplished for myself, grateful for all the things that I chose to believe in and that are working out for me. It was really a great month. So that month was all about me turning 30. And yeah, it was actually amazing. And then during that month, as if it was not enough, on my birthday, for those of you who understand the, publishing process, I knew my paper was accepted for publication in August, but then you wait until, they put it online. So the morning I turned 30, my paper was published online. So right now, if you search my first PhD paper, the date of publication is 29 September. It was a birthday present that I really cherished, because, publishing a paper is, gruesome. It takes a lot of things, and knowing that I'm turning 30 and I've managed to publish the first paper for my PhD, I knew I'm going to publish more, but then it was actually an amazing, thing for me. So basically, that was what happened in September. As you have seen, no fitness goals were featuring in all those months. Yeah, things were not going well. I could feel that, I really need to be fit. I really need to get back into the game. So after turning 30, I restarted my fitness goals. So October was all about restarting my fitness goals. And I'm really happy with where I am right now. And I'm really continuing to push. I had my second year doctoral review. So for those of you who are out there, you don't just get a PhD and then they let you go away and then you face your troubles, do your research. Those guys really follow up. You see, we had a retreat where every doctoral student is there, and then every year, every end of your, your PhD year, you have to sit down with your supervisors, an external advisor, and in my case, it would be people from the company that I work for that got me the PhD, and you have to present what you have done. So during this time, that's where you face your troubles. If you haven't been working so hard, they'll be coming for you. If you've been working hard, then you would see it with how the presentation goes. And then there are some reports that they have to fill in. So this helps the doctoral school to really track what exactly is happening. Because you know what, when you're doing a PhD, it doesn't all go well as you anticipated. Sometimes people spend a year or 2 or 3 years before they have something tangible, and then from fourth year they start having things. And most probably, especially if you have to run experiments in the lab, the process is actually different. So in this month, I had my second year doctoral review, and it went well. It went amazing. I was in line with the goals that I had set for myself, the milestones and everything. It was in line. And I'm really grateful to God that I am able to keep up with the plan, with my proposal and everything. So it really went well and I could breathe. But I could breathe meant that if this is my second review, I'm getting into my third year and it's getting hotter. The pressure is getting worse. But anyways, I took that in and then I knew that I was starting my third year, so I had to start putting things in order, working on my objectives that are still left. That's what happened. Then in November, my son turned 5, and November was all about him. You know, back home, we do have our birthdays, but there's not that pressure of preparing. Here, when your child has a birthday, you are the one who has to buy presents for the kids in school. So if they are 20, you have to buy 20 presents. Educational, of course, because this year they banned us to bring sweets because most of the parents were bringing sweets to the kids. So when we started the kindergarten year in September, they were like, no sweets, no sweets. So I made sure that I prepared for my son. And I also noted that my son had not had a party. Like most of the times when it's his birthday, we go for a photo shoot. And as you all know, photo shoots are for the parents, they are never for the kids. Yes. So as you all know, this was quenching our cravings as parents, not necessarily him. So I realized my son had never had a party. So I was also planning his party as the mommy planner, and we had his party on the 30th with friends from school and also friends from our Zim community here, and it was amazing. And before you know it, we were in December. And for me, December is a gratitude month. For me, December is a reflective month. So in December, each day, I find time to sit down and think, what is it, Tafara, that you have learned from this year? What is it, Tafara, that you have done from this year? What is it that you need to correct? What is it that you need to do? And I think it is very, very important to do this. Why? Because I think if you have seen my last video, I was talking about how we need to reflect on the things that we do so that we don't fall into the same cycles when a new year starts. Because what really changes is the calendar. So if you don't change yourself, you'll still be battling the same battles that you were battling in the previous year. Still be stuck in the cycles that you were in the previous year. So for me, basically, December is sitting down and thanking God for all the things that He has done, thanking Him for all the battles that I've won. What you're seeing here is a recap. So basically, doesn't mean I wasn't facing challenges. As a young mom who's raising a child in Europe, you understand what happens with childcare. Sometimes I have to miss out activities from work because I don't have anyone to have to be with Riley. And also trying to fit in, there are so many activities that happens at school. And as a foreigner, sometimes it is difficult to fit in. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I didn't have some breakdowns. I didn't have some stresses. I did, but December is all about thanking God that He put me through those situations and I came out alive. And I also sit down and say, okay, I plan to do this and that. Did I do it? If I didn't, what was the problem? If I didn't, how best can I make sure that I achieve it? That's all I've been doing December, and that's all I'm still continuing to do. And I believe it is important to really look back and be grateful, to really look back and take stock of what went well and what went wrong, and how can you press on things that went right and continue to do that. So basically, December for me didn't have any major things except for end of year meetings at work, but it is a reflective month for me. If you're listening to this video and you haven't started your reflections and you haven't started looking at the things that you put yourself down for to do in the year of 2025, please do so. It is important. It makes you get into 2026 with a clearer vision of where you're going and where you're coming from. So basically that was 2025 for me, and I'm thanking myself apparently for showing up every day, for showing up for my dreams. And if you had the same year like me, of course, details will be different. I want to thank you for showing up every day for yourself. And thank you so much, guys, for the support that you have given me on this platform. I don't take that for granted. And yeah, it has been an amazing year. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and continue showing up for your girl. Thank you, guys. Bye. Ciao.